My father was a kind, gentle, quiet man. He lived such a good life before me and set an example of how to live, giving your life to God and being a Christian. So he had a lot of influence on how I made choices and lived my life from day to day. When my mother passed away, I certainly continued to go and visit Daddy on a regular basis, and he loved Westerns. And I discovered that pretty much me and Mother were the talkers, and my sisters and my brother, of course. But in all the conversations, Daddy would just sit there and kind of nod and smile, but he was not the talker in the group at all. So when Mother died and I would visit, we would sit and watch Westerns. He loved Westerns. Honest to goodness, after I spent a week with him, when I left to come back home, I really felt like I needed to tip my hat and say howdy to everybody because we had watched so many Westerns. And after one visit, I realized and said to myself, Kat, you're wasting all this precious, valuable time with your dad watching TV. Why not use your skills as a professional to draw him out and get him to talk about himself and other things that happened to him in his life? So the next visit, I was prepared. I had all my questions lined up, the topics that we were going to discuss. So as we sat there, of course, his Western came on and we were watching the Western. And there was a little puppy dog on there and on the show. And I thought, okay, Kat, this is your chance. Get him to start talking. So I looked at him and I said, that's the cutest little dog, isn't it? And he stopped and looked at me. He looked at the little dog. He said, he said, when I was growing up, I had a cute little dog. I said, really? He had never ever mentioned, because he grew up on a farm, that he had actually had a pet and certainly not a little dog. So, animal lover that I am, I certainly wanted to find out about that little dog. And I said, Daddy, I didn't know you had a little dog. I said, what kind was it? He said, well, he said, I think it was a little collie mix. He said, it was the prettiest little thing you've ever seen. And he said he just came up one day and to the house, and we tried to find its owners but couldn't. So Mom and Daddy finally said that I could have the little dog. So he sat there for a little while longer, looking at the Western, and I said, "Well, Daddy," I said, "what was his name?" And so he looked at me and he said, "Wonder." And I was expecting something like Spot or Blackie or Rover or any known dog name that we know, but Wonder. So I looked at him, I said, Daddy, I said, that's a really strange name. I said, how did you come up with the name Wonder? And he looked at me like I had lost all my senses. And he said, well, we named him Wonder because we always wondered where he came from. Well, when he gave me that explanation, I just busted out laughing. I mean, I was laughing so hard. And then he got tickled. So he was laughing so hard too. We were sitting there laughing, wiping tears out of our eyes. And we laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. It was a wonderful conversation. And it's one of my most wonderful memories of him. I treasure it today because it was a moment in time that we really connected and we really enjoyed something from his past. And I thought to myself, we're losing our histories because the younger generation is not sitting down and talking with their grandparents, their parents, their aunts and uncles, their extended family. They're just not talking to them. And as a result, we're losing all these wonderful stories like Wonder the Dog. I would encourage you to sit down and just talk with an older person and ask them questions and get them to talking about themselves. When an older person tells you a story, it's almost as if they are reliving the moment again. Their faces look like a video screen, and you can see them once again experience the pleasure and the joy from that moment. And then they're experiencing pleasure and joy in this very moment that they're talking to you, that you're interested and you want to know more about them. Why not talk with your older relatives? Why not talk with any older person? There are thousands and thousands in nursing homes that have such great stories and nobody's listening to them. Try to find out about an old person. Try to find out what their story really is. Give yourself and them the pleasure and joy of a lifetime. Won't you join me just for this week?